Like I said many times before, there is a lot to like about Amphibia, but one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, for why people like this show so much is Marcy Regina Wu. Yes, that is her full name. When I started this channel, the second video I ever made for it was about why Marcy is the best character of Amphibia, and I gave 3 reasons why that's the case. But considering how short and unrefined it is, looking back in hindsight, I thought it would be a good idea to update that video. However, I'm gonna go in a slightly different direction compared to my normal character analysis videos. I'm still gonna cover the key reasons for why Marcy is an amazing character, but I also want to discuss why most Amphibia fans grew to like Marcy so much compared to other characters.
Can you imagine if Marcy got stuck with us instead of Anne? We'd be set for life!
Hush, Polly. Think those thoughts. Don't say them.
So this is not just a character analysis, it's also an analysis of Amphibia fans and people involved in fandoms as a whole. Not gonna lie, this video turned out to go a lot deeper than I anticipated. If you were to ask me and other Amphibia fans why Marcy is a great character, most answers boil down to one key factor: her personality. In pretty much every way, Marcy is the quintessential nerd. She is obsessed with all sorts of fictional media like games, books, shows, and movies. In addition, she's academically smart and can solve many brain-teasing problems. However, she's also socially challenged and can have a hard time getting along with new people she meets. Then there's the miscellaneous flaws like her obliviousness and clumsiness. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people watching right now relates to at least one of these traits, especially the first one. Of course, personality is one thing, but another reason why Marcy is a good character is, well, look at her! Seriously, the way Marcy looks makes people want to give her a hug. Hell, even the toy version of her looks freaking adorable. So even if you don't relate to Marcy from a personality point of view, the vast majority of viewers still gravitate towards liking her. It's not just the character design of Marcy that makes her appealing too. Her voice adds a lot to how she appears on screen. Haley Ju, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly, the voice actress who played Marcy, did a phenomenal job acting out the role. In many emotional scenes involving Marcy, the voice acting really adds another layer of depth to the character that many fans can appreciate.
Oh, relax, everyone. It's just a cardinal. They don't eat frogs. She's just saying hello. Ah! Marcy! Ah!
What's he talking about?
Yeah, what plan?
He promised he'd take us with him to the new worlds that we could have amazing adventures just like this one forever and ever. What is this, huh?
When you combine this appearance of Marcy with her fun, relatable personality, you get a character that most fans want to cheer on. That leads me to the last major piece of the puzzle to why Marcy's a well-written character, and it's her character arc. Like most characters of the show, Marcy went through a lot of changes from when she was first introduced to her final moments of the show. She went from resisting change and hiding the truth from her friends to someone who is open to change and is willing to be transparent to others. That's growth that largely anyone can understand and relate to. Personally, Marcy's struggles of letting go of friends is something that I relate to a lot, as someone who had to see most of their friends move away. So seeing Marcy get emotional over leaving her friends, both in the show and in the book, did cause me to shed a tear. So I can go on giving more reasons for what makes Marcy such a well-written character from a storytelling perspective, but the truth is, most of Marcy's traits that make her a good character are not actually that much different compared to other characters like Anne or even Sprig, as a matter of fact. Like Marcy, Anne and Sprig are also adorable, rather goofy and relatable, and have appealing story arcs about change for the better. That's why I have Anne as my favorite character, tied with Marcy, and why Sprig is a close second. Despite that, however, a majority of people in my audience voted for Marcy as their favorite character, and an overwhelming 96% of people say they at least like her. So if Marcy's not that much better than Anne or Sprig in terms of writing, why do so many people in the Amphibia community hold her up on this pedestal? Well, this is the part of the video where I'll once again exercise my credentials as a social science major. So buckle up, y'all. This is gonna get very complicated very quickly. Like I said before, one of the key things that makes Marcy appealing is her personality. What makes her personality so appealing is how extremely relatable it is to the typical person who is a fan of fictional media, which I assume describes most of you because you are watching a video of me overanalyzing a cartoon. In addition, the appreciation of Marcy is especially strong compared to other characters because she exhibits many of these relatable traits from the moment she is introduced. This is key because the moment the character shares at least one relatable trait to you, you tend to start projecting more and more of yourself to them, especially when you learn more relatable characteristics about them.
Marcy, how'd you like to be adopted?
As a result, many people begin to see Marcy essentially as a reflection or extension of themselves. For some fans, this attachment becomes so strong to the point they will go out of their way to defend Marcy at all costs, as if she is a real person, and will distance themselves from anyone who does not like their beloved character. Now that may seem a bit exaggerative, but that is something I have seen even within my own comment sections. Also, this is actually a phenomenon that psychologists have taken note in recent years. They even coined a term for very extreme cases of character affection, and they call it fictiophilia. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not saying that any of you watching have this problem, but it can happen to some unfortunate people, and I'd like to ignore them because they're creepy. So let's move on. The reason why a phenomenon like this can happen is because for thousands of years, the human mind never really had to deal with distinguishing what's real and fictional. Sure, we have told fictional stories for generations, but we never had to clearly distinguish them as fiction, considering that most people back then heard stories either through reading a book, watching a play, or hearing it aloud. But our forms of storytelling rapidly evolved, especially within the past 150 years, with the introduction of movies and eventually TV, and the human mind has a hard time keeping up with the rapid change. On top of that, fictional media has never been more easily accessible than ever before with the internet, social media, streaming services, and smartphones on our hands. When you have such ease in watching a fictional show you find entertaining, you'll watch it more and more, and that leads to a perpetual cycle of getting more and more attached to fictional characters like Marcy. Another thing worth noting about Marcy's appeal is how closely she resembles a person who is neurodivergent, particularly someone who is autistic. For those who are not very aware of what those are, neurodivergence is the idea of a person's brain developing and working in a different way compared to most human minds. And autism is a form of neurodivergence that is often associated with difficulty in effectively communicating with other people and limited and/or repetitive behaviors and interests. It's worth noting this is a somewhat outdated view of autism because it can come in different forms, and people who are on the spectrum can have advantages over those who are neurotypical. I don't have time to go over the fine details, but just keep this in mind. Now, I'm not officially autistic, but I have been told by others in the community who are, and they can really see their traits within Marcy. Since it's still rather rare to see a character be officially confirmed to be neurodivergent, whenever a character exhibits traits like this, neurodivergent people will hold on to them and use those characters as justifications that their flaws can and should be accepted by the rest of society. That brings me to my final point that I want to cover for this video, which is that Marcy is a really good representative for misfits of society. For the longest time, things like neurodivergence or homosexuality are something that most people thought were flaws and needed to be treated. Thankfully, our world today has grown to understand more of these psychological phenomena and be relatively more open to those who do not fit the mold of a normal person. But there are still people, especially those in traditional conservative circles, who want to extinguish these misfits through whatever means possible. And then one of the ways they do that is through blocking any forms of representation of people who are atypical. So whenever a show or movie has characters that exhibit atypical traits, and people just accept them as perfectly fine, anyone who finds themselves outside of societal norms can't help but defend them because they are also defending themselves. At the end of the day, people want to be accepted by society regardless of who they are. And a good way to convince people to be more open is through entertainment. So whenever you see someone be so passionate about a character like Marcy, just know why they do it. Also, be a bit more careful with what you say before you go out there and start bashing a character. It's fine to be constructively critical of how a character is written and how they fit into a story, but saying non-constructive criticisms, like how they're annoying to watch or how you don't like this particular trait, even though it's a relatable trait to some people, it can be taken as a personal attack to those who relate to these characters. Characters like Marcy, Anne, and so on may be fictional, but people like them are as real as you can get. So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you are a Marcy fan, why do you like her as a character? Or if you're someone who doesn't like Marcy, provide your constructive criticisms down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. I genuinely hope you do like this kind of video where I dig into macro societal analysis, because this is something I do like discussing, and I think it's good to have some more critical thinking in our lives. Also, thanks again to those who support this channel through YouTube memberships, along with everyone else who watches these videos. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a great day. See you in the next one.